The Promise Part 3. He looked at her again, really seeing her now, the calm strength in her eyes, the softness in her smile. After a moment of quiet, she checked the clock on the wall. "We're closing soon," she said softly. "Are you staying around here?" Chris hesitated. "No," he said. "I'm new to this city. I don't even know where to start." Lena frowned gently. "So it means you don't have anywhere to stay tonight?" He shook his head. "No, I don't." She wiped her hands on her apron and thought for a second. "There's a small shelter just 2 blocks from here," she said. "It's simple, but warm. The lady there is kind. I can walk with you until the corner. It's on my way home." Chris tried to refuse. "You've already done enough." But Lena smiled. "It's late and you don't know this part of town. Come on." They stepped outside together into the cool night. The city lights flickered on the wet pavement as they walked side by side. The streets were quiet, and the sound of their footsteps echoed softly between the buildings. When they reached the shelter, Lena pointed to a small red door under a yellow sign. "That's it," she said. Chris looked at her, grateful. "Thank you. You've been so kind to me tonight." She smiled, her eyes warm in the streetlight. "You're welcome, Chris. Good night." He stood there for a while, watching her walk away. In that moment, he realized he hadn't just found shelter. He had met someone whose kindness felt like light. The next morning, Chris woke up early in the shelter. The bed was small, and the air smelled of coffee and soap. For the first time in weeks, he had slept without worry. The old woman who ran the place, Martha, gave him a cup of tea and said kindly, "There's a small cafe down the street. They sometimes need help. You can try there." He thanked her and walked out into the morning light. The cafe door opened with a soft bell. Inside, the smell of fresh bread made him smile, and there she was, Lena, wiping the counter. She looked up surprised, then laughed softly. "You again? Looks like you found your way back to food." Chris smiled. "I took your advice. I stayed at the shelter. They told me you might need help here." Lena called her boss, Mr. Lee, an older man with kind eyes. "He can work hard," she said quickly. Mr. Lee looked at Chris, then nodded. "You can wash dishes and carry boxes. Start today." That was how Chris became part of the cafe. The work was simple, but honest. He cleaned tables, washed cups, and learned how to make sandwiches. Lena worked beside him, smiling even when she was tired. During breaks, they sat on the back steps with mugs of tea. One afternoon, when the place was quiet, Lena asked, "Chris, what did you do before all this? You don't seem like someone new to work." He thought for a while before answering. "I served in the army for 4 years." Her eyes widened. "Really? You were a soldier?" He nodded. She listened quietly. "That must have been hard." "It was," he said softly. "But business seemed easier afterward. My father owned companies. I worked with him for a while. Then he got sick and—" His voice faded. "Things changed." Lena didn't push for more. "I'm sorry," she said gently. He gave a small smile. "You don't need to be. Sometimes life teaches us by breaking us a little." They sat quietly for a few moments, the hum of the refrigerator filling the space. After closing that night, rain began to fall. Lena forgot her umbrella, so Chris offered his jacket. "Take this," he said. "You'll catch a cold." "What about you?" she asked. "I've been through worse weather," he said with a grin. They ran through the rain together, laughing like old friends. When they reached the shelter, both were soaked but smiling. Lena looked up at him, water shining on her face. "You don't belong to the streets, Chris," she said softly. "Maybe I'm learning where I do belong," he answered. She smiled and nodded toward the door. "See you tomorrow." He watched her walk away through the rain. For the first time since his father's death, he felt calm. Life was simple here. Warm tea, honest work, a kind voice that made the days brighter. That night, lying on his narrow bed, Chris whispered to himself, "Maybe this is what my father wanted me to find." And as the city slept, 2 lives that had started on different sides of the world were slowly beginning to move toward E. Rain rolled softly against the cafe windows that morning. The air smelled of wet streets and roasted beans. Chris walked in early, still brushing mist off his jacket. Mr. Lee stood behind the counter, folding napkins with tired hands. "Lena called in sick," he said. "Fever. She will not come today." The words sank straight into Chris's chest. "Is it serious?" he asked. Mr. Lee only shrugged. "She said she will rest. You will cover her tables." He turned away to unlock the till, and Chris saw her name scribbled on the staff board, Lena, 917. The digits glimmered faintly in the fluorescent light. Without thinking, he copied them into his phone. Just in case, he told himself. If you're ready for the next part, comment below. The Promise Part 3 and where you're watching from.